What I'm amazed by is that they thought they could get away with it. You think we weren't gonna catch you on the missing part of the tape?
Right.
You're nuts.
Absolutely
Bunch of
nuts.
incompetent fools.
One of the sloppiest cover-ups in American history.
Does that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa.
He's like, oh yeah, I can't believe he took the girls and raped them, right? No, he took my girls. They were working in my spa. Oh my God, you're so dumb.
Oh my God, he's advertising the spa. Oh my God.
Oh God, Jesus Christ,
I didn't hear that
man.
part earlier. Okay.
We're talking about the biggest pedophile ring in American history, and you're marketing your spa.
Earlier this month, the Justice Department released nearly 11 hours of surveillance footage from outside Epstein's cell. Now, just before midnight, the time code jumped forward on the screen. A government source now alleges the government has a copy of that video that includes that minute, but it's still unclear why the section was missing when the video was first released.
Well, earlier this month, when the Trump administration released what they claim to be raw video footage inside the prison where Jeffrey Epstein was being held, Attorney General Pam Bondi insisted that there was a legitimate reason why there was a minute missing from the video that they released to the public. But according to CBS, the government may have had their hands on that missing footage this entire time. And I don't know, Cenk, are you shocked by that revelation?
What I'm amazed by is that they thought they could get away with it. Isn't that amazing? And so we were talking this morning, we used to cover these stories by the politicians, like Mitt Romney would do it all the time, where he'd tell two different crowds, two completely different stories. And they didn't get used to the fact, and we would say back then, like 2011, 2012, do you not know YouTube exists? Those events were taped and they're gonna go on a thing called YouTube and we're gonna be able to put them together. And their answer was, yeah, they didn't know. They were living in the 1980s and 90s. All of them are so freaking old. Yeah. So the government here is used to, we do an outrageous lie. Mainstream media says it's the official story and everybody moves on. You're not getting it, brothers and sisters. Nobody gives a damn what mainstream media says now. Online media is so strong and overwhelming. You think we weren't gonna catch you on the missing part of the tape?
Right.
You're nuts.
Absolutely
Bunch
nuts.
of incompetent fools.
One of the sloppiest cover-ups in American history, and there have been quite a few cover-ups. But anyway, let's get to the details here. So in the video, so here it is, you're watching it. In this video, you can see the time code on the screen jumped forward 1 minute just before midnight, which was strange. Online sleuths noticed it. So there you go. And when this suspicious jump was called out, Pam Bondi decided to give an explanation. There's an explanation for this, so let's hear what it was.
It was a minute that was off the counter, and what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
That video's from 1999. Is she saying the surveillance system is from 1999? And does a maximum security prison that has this guy on suicide watch really use a surveillance system that dates back to the 1990s? Really? I mean, I think that's insane, and I'm not the only one, by the way, because this is looking even fishier. A government source familiar with the investigation says the FBI, the Bureau of Prisons, and the Department of Justice Inspector General are all in possession of a copy of the video that does not cut from just before 11:59 p.m. to midnight of the night Epstein died.
But I thought it didn't even exist. She said that every video, that minute is cut out.
Right.
And then she said, we're looking into it. And that was like a month ago. So where's all the minutes? So she's not even trying to make sense. And I'm telling you, they just thought, because they're generally right. Like even in the middle of this, back then, when you said there's a minute missing, mainstream media was like, is that conspiratorial? It's right there in front of your eyes.
It's right in front of your eyes. The source didn't say what was on that missing footage or why it was even removed. And by the way, this person spoke to CBS News on condition of anonymity. I need to know more, right? Like, there's so much that's being kept from the American people, different narratives. Obviously, that video that was released by the Trump Justice Department was doctored. Why was it doctored? But this reporting is fairly consistent with other things that we've learned about the footage, right? So for one, in response to Bondi's claim that the missing minute could be explained by the camera system, experts in surveillance video, including video forensic professionals, told CBS News that a nightly reset would have been unusual and was not something they encountered in most video systems. I gotta give her credit though for being creative in her cover story here, right? Like how stupid is that cover story though, seriously? Like, oh, we have a surveillance system in this prison and not a big deal, it's just, it skips an entire minute, like an entire minute. So like, what's the point of having a surveillance system when you know that there's like this loophole where bad things can happen in a minute and people get away with it?
Yeah, and so what's so frustrating about mainstream media is, look, this is CBS News, it's a really good story, right? So every once in a while they do these really good stories and you find out a little bit more. And then the very next day, they all have collective instant amnesia and we'll call everything related to Epstein's story conspiracy theories.
Can I give you more details? Because there's more insane details here. So for instance, experts also say that it's clear that a version of the recording released by the FBI was in fact edited and not raw as they had originally claimed. They meaning, the Trump administration. Jim Stafford was one of several video forensic analysts who looked at the video's metadata. Listen, Pam, you're the Attorney General. You have to know what metadata is. That's how people are able to determine whether or not you were messing around with the footage, whether or not the footage is actually the raw footage or not. But Jim Stafford said that the metadata showed that the file was first created on May 23rd of this year, and that it was likely a screen capture, not an actual export of the raw file. He said the metadata showed that the video was in fact 2 separate videos stitched together. It was also slightly sped up, so the video covering 11 hours runs approximately 10 hours and 53 minutes in length. And by the way, as we had reported on earlier, Wired had reported on July 15th that in fact there was more than 1 minute missing, okay? So here's the author of that article. The author is Dhruv Mehrotra. Let's take a look.
The quote unquote raw video was actually stitched together from 2 separate clips and exported multiple times over more than 3 hours on a single day in May. When we looked at the metadata from the source clips, we found that 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of the original files that they used. And that cut happens actually right before the now infamous missing minute, which is like a gap in footage that occurred from 11:59 p.m. on August 9th to midnight the following morning. And this doesn't just really undercut the claim that the DOJ has made that this video is raw and unedited, but it also potentially contradicts the DOJ's explanation that the missing minute was due to a routine system reset. Because based on the original file that we're looking at, there appears to be footage that could cover the time frame in question.
Okay, so now you have the full picture. And CBS asked the FBI and the Justice Department for a response to this claim from a government worker who's apparently knowledgeable about all of this, about their claims that the government is in fact in possession of the full footage, but they declined to comment. The Bureau of Prisons, though, said that they had no additional information to provide. And the final thing that I'll say about this that I find a little strange is, Dan Bongino just this past weekend on Saturday posted a pretty cryptic statement on X. Now, of course, he's the deputy FBI director, and he said, during my tenure here as the deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. So that was, you took a giant can of gasoline and just squirted it all over the fire, because what does that mean? What was meant by that cryptic statement?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, this is crazy.
And there's two possibilities there, right? So one is that Bongino is basically, when he comes out of the administration, is gonna tell us what he learned.
I hope.
Because he's too embarrassed, his career will be over if he comes out and goes, oh, there's nothing happened, there was no clients and there was no file, and the girls raped themselves, right? Like it's over for him, right? So he might be saying, hey, don't worry. I know you all hate me now, but I'm gonna tell you later, okay? Or the more likely possibility is, oh my God, I found out that the Democrats are really evil. And I will be telling you about how shocking that is, but don't ask about Epstein. Don't ask about Epstein. The Democrats have shocked me to my core. So if they do that, he does that kind of BS maneuver. Yeah, of course, some schmucks and MAGA will fall for it, right? Some percentage of them will fall for anything, which I'm gonna come back to in a second. But a lot of them will be like, really, brother? So there was nothing in the Epstein files, but golly gee, you found two things about Democrats, and that's the thing that shocked you.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one it is, but if he tries that BS, I don't think it's gonna fly at all. It might fly with some right-wing shows, but it's not gonna fly with the podcasters and the independent shows who are gonna laugh him out of the building.
By the way, I would feel the same way if we had a Democratic administration in the position that the Trump administration is currently in right now. If they just want to chalk this up to some sort of partisan scandal, I'm not buying it. For me, this is not a partisan story. I mean, look, as we know, Jeffrey Epstein ran around with politicians from both sides of the political aisle. I don't see this as a partisan issue. If you're obsessed with making one side look bad by exploiting this story, I'm very suspicious of you. Because again, as Cenk had mentioned earlier, and I totally agree with this, I think this story actually goes much deeper than partisan politics, much deeper.
Yeah.
Okay, it has to do with injustice, it has to do with a cover up, it has to do with our government and our institutions lying to the American people. It has to do with a possible blackmail operation. It's potentially carried out by foreign governments in order to get our politicians to serve their interests as opposed to America's interests. This is a big problem. So don't let anyone make you think this is all about partisanship, because that's a complete and utter lie. It's, again, much deeper than that.
There's the reason why I hold out some hope that Bongino is actually talking about the Epstein files and might say some things when he leaves, is because he gratuitously threw in intelligence agencies. Because the FBI is internal, inside America. Intelligence agencies are supposed to be working outside America, right? So why is the deputy director at the FBI talking about the intelligence agencies and how things he's seen has shocked him to his core? So that might be a hint there. But we're reading tea leaves because nobody will ever tell you the truth from the government, which then leads me back to the point that I wanted to make about them. You know, you ever seen that movie, and I always forget the title of it, Bart will know, but the Batman movie that Bane was in, right? That I actually loved. And Bane has a great line to Batman there. He said, victory has defeated you. And that is what has happened with government cover-ups. They've gotten away with so many preposterous government cover-ups. Oh yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK from the state of Maine, and it was one bullet that traveled in 17 directions and hit him. But trust us, bro, right? Since all of those things worked with a very compliant media, now they're like, yeah, sure, there's a missing minute in every prison tape. Yeah, we'll get a deal later, brother. We're working around the clock. But also the same thing goes for the Trump team. So they really got the sense that Trump could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. That their own followers would believe every single lie, no matter how preposterous. So when they're not believing the lies about Epstein, they're kind of shell-shocked. They're like, what, we already gave you an excuse.
Why won't this go away?
Right, we already told you MAGA people to scoot. We gave you a stupid excuse and you're still not biting on it? Victory has defeated them. Like they got so complacent about it. And then finally, guys, the entire conversation is nonsense to begin with. That's not the hallway. That's a common area.
I know.
It's almost a totally random tape. Oh, well, no, Epstein was not killed. You can see from this video recording we have of a strip mall in Paramus. What does that have to do with anything? The hallway is where they would have entered his cell. And they say, oh, golly gee, the hallway cameras entirely not working. But in every prison, the hallway camera of the most important prisoner and the worst pedophile in American history never works. Oh, okay, if you say so. no, don't lose track of the fact that you're looking at the wrong tape to begin with.
People were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told them, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine, and then not too long after that, he did it again, and I said, out of here.
Does that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. He stole her.
Questions are swirling over what exactly led to a fallout between President Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. They seemed to be good friends, and then suddenly they were no longer friends. And while taking questions from reporters today, Donald Trump was specifically asked about that and whether or not the break in their relationship had to do with the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to poach employees from Trump's businesses. So today he stated that Jeffrey Epstein, quote unquote, stole Virginia Giuffre from him, who apparently was working at the spa in Mar-A-Lago. So that statement was during a press conference with reporters, and Trump did take several questions about his relationship with Epstein. I'm not sure it's helping him in any way, but that clip that we just played for you came near the end of the press conference. We have more to share with you, but so far, Cenk, what are your thoughts on what you heard in that clip?
Guy's mental. He's so dumb, he doesn't get it. Like, guys, hear me out. If you're a Trump supporter, right? What do you want Trump saying if he's innocent? Do you want him saying, yeah, I kicked Epstein out because he was a creep. I heard that he said something about a young girl, and I said, not on my watch. And I kicked him out because I was morally outraged.
That was the original story.
No, Trump never actually said that. His supporters assumed that that's what it was. See, they actually made a logical assumption because that's something that would have helped Trump. That would have,
right.
But he's a massive liar, but he can't even figure out how to lie right? So that's the obvious lie. Now, I say lie in this case because you just heard the truth from Trump. He didn't say that. He said that he was bothered that Epstein took some of his employees from Mar-A-Lago, and that's why they had a falling out. But brother, we all know Epstein was a massive pedophile and ran this ring. When you say that you're more concerned that he took a couple of employees from your spa, don't you see that you seem to have no empathy for the girls? And then you mentioned that's one of the most spectacular cases, an unfortunate case. We're gonna tell you more about that in a second. And you say, instead of like, I can't believe what happened to her, you're like, yeah, he stole her from, she was my employee. Like, before we even know about the spa part, he had already yesterday mentioned that this was the reason that he had taken some sort of employee from Mar-A-Lago. And
so
Jon
wild.
Stewart yesterday did a brilliant monologue where he's like, so your real concern was that he had poached a low-level employee, right? But now today, it turns out when you hear more details, it's even worse. He's like, oh yeah, I can't believe he took the girls and raped them, right? No, he took my girls. They were working in my spa. Oh my God, you're so dumb.
And look, I don't think he's trying to say he took my girls from my spa who we were abusing or anything like that.
No, I'm not implying that.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear. That's not what's being stated. That's not what's being implied. But you have to understand the point that Cenk is trying to make here, which is that Epstein is a known pedophile, was a known pedophile who was raping and abusing minors. And so when reporters are asking you why you no longer wanted a relationship with him, and the first thing you go to is, he was poaching my employees, it doesn't really bode well for you. It's not good PR. He understands good PR, right? That's not good PR. Okay, so that's what he said toward the end of his Q&A with reporters. Prior to that, he made other Epstein-related statements. Let's take a look at that.
You said yesterday your falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was over him taking some of the workers from your business. But your administration in the past said that you threw him out because he was a creep. So can you explain that discrepancy?
Well, maybe they're the same thing, sort of a little bit of the same thing. But no, he took people that worked for me, and I told him don't do it anymore, and he did it. And I said, stay the hell out of here.
Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. But just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
some of them?
Were some of them young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women.
What did they do?
In the spa.
In the spa.
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-A-Lago.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, he's advertising the spa. Oh my God.
Oh God, Jesus Christ,
I didn't hear
man.
that part earlier. Okay.
We're talking about the biggest pedophile ring in American history, and you're marketing your spa. So you see what I'm saying, guys? Like everybody else already knows it. The left knows it, independents know it, right? But for those of you on the right, can you not see what the rest of us are seeing? The brother has no empathy at all. It just doesn't even occur to him. It's amazing.
So Virginia Giuffre is the woman who had accused Prince Andrew of raping her. She has since committed suicide. And the whole thing is just, this whole thing is so tragic and disgusting and ugly. And it is well known by now that President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were once friends, but in the early 2000s, the two of them had their falling out. Now, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung stated that the fact is that the president kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club for being a creep. Now that vague statement does line up with previous reporting about Trump and Epstein's relationship. According to former Trump aide Sam Nunberg's 2019 account to the Washington Post, Trump said he banned Epstein from Mar-A-Lago because of misconduct. Nunberg said Trump said he did so because Epstein had recruited a young woman who worked there to give him massages. This was years before the Epstein investigation became public knowledge, according to the Washington Post. Quote, he's a real creep, I banned him, Nunberg said Trump had told him. So like, why didn't Trump just say that in answering questions from the reporters? I think that he just seems very flustered when having to deal or respond to this situation. Anything having to do with the Epstein files, anything having to do with his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which is actually very uncharacteristic of Trump. You know, oftentimes when he finds himself in the middle of some controversy, he has this unapologetic air about him. But when it comes to this issue, for whatever reason, he behaves very differently. Now, multiple reports, including a 2020 book by reporters for the Miami Herald and Wall Street Journal, have linked Epstein's ban from Mar-A-Lago to alleged overtures to the teenage daughter of a Mar-A-Lago member. Now, Virginia Giuffre was again a victim of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's horrific pedophilic abuse. She was outspoken in calling for justice for all of the victims. And she did sue Jeffrey Epstein back in 2009 and made clear what her claims were against him dating back to 2015. Other survivors have also stated that Giuffre's courage gave them the strength to come forward with their own allegations and stories as well. And as I mentioned earlier, tragically, she committed suicide earlier this year, actually. And she was working at Mar-A-Lago at the time that she unfortunately met Maxwell and Epstein. So in 2000, court records show Ghislaine Maxwell struck up a conversation with her outside a locker room at Mar-A-Lago. Giuffre was only 17 years old at the time. She was a spa attendant at the club, having gotten the job through her father, who worked there as a maintenance man. According to Giuffre, Maxwell offered her a job at the spot as a masseuse for Epstein after seeing that she was reading a book about massage, telling her that she did not need to have any experience. She said that when she was brought to Epstein's Palm Beach home, she found him lying naked on the table. Maxwell, she claimed, instructed her on how to massage him. It's just absolutely disgusting.
By the way, that's the same Ghislaine Maxwell that Trump was asked about over the last couple of days and said that the pardon is still on the table. Why? Maybe it'll be off the table if you remind Trump that Ghislaine Maxwell was Epstein's co-conspirator in poaching his low-level employees. Like that's the thing he apparently cares about, right? So
can we just take Trump's fairly recent comments about Maxwell and Epstein in context, right? Because it's not just about what he said in the context of this Q&A with reporters. It's also about him wishing Ghislaine Maxwell well when she was being prosecuted. You remember that? And it's like, why did you wish her well, knowing that she's the one who went to Mar-A-Lago, was the one who recruited one of your 17-year-old workers from the spa to be raped by the likes of Jeffrey Epstein? Why did you wish her well? Why?
And how does that not morally outrage you? If somebody was working here and somebody did that to them, I'd want to rip their head off.
I'd want to rip their head off.
I mean, I don't know, this whole building filled with empathetic people would be enraged, right? Trump's like, yeah, you took a girl from my spa. I mean, that could have cost me $1 or $5. Like, what is wrong with you? Okay, so look, I'm gonna go to our members because they made a whole bunch of really good points, and I want to give voice to them. These are all on tyt.com. Newfie Dragon said, am I asleep or in the Twilight Zone? Did Trump just admit to being upset that Epstein stole his young spa girls?
Yes.
Yes, it's unbelievable. Okay, pessimistic progressive said, sorry, Jar of Jam Bongino said, always, always, always about how it affects him. Yes, he has no ability to empathize, but I think the best one, and out of all these great comments, is pessimistic progressive. Wait, you're telling me the guy who bragged about having the tallest building after 9/11 has no empathy? Shocking, right?
Yeah.
Yes, remember after 9/11, the first interview he does on the radio, he's like, now my building's the tallest in New York, which by the way wasn't true, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares? And he's like, now I have the tallest building. I mean, who says that? Who says that? And not like 10, 20 years later, like the day after.
Yeah.
As 3,000 people are burning still in the rubble of the building. He's like, now my building's the tallest. So, and why do you think that people say that he, and I know if you're a Trump supporter, you'll never believe it. With the rest, you'll go the rest of your life never believing it, even though every other part of the puzzle confirms it. That he called people who were veterans, the people who were in the military, suckers and losers. And the follow-up question was, I don't get it. Why do they do it? Because he doesn't understand why you would have empathy for any other human being. Why you would ever sacrifice for any other human being. Why you wouldn't always look out for yourself. And that's why this idea that he's actually looking out for the average man in America is so ironic and tragic.
You know, for me, I get his supporters who want to deny stories like the claim that he called, our veterans suckers and losers, because they didn't hear it with their own ears. They didn't hear Trump say it for himself. But in this case, you hear it from the horse's mouth, and the lack of empathy and the real reason why he was upset with Epstein, I think, is telling. The fact that we still are not getting the Epstein files that were promised to the American people. By the way, forget the American people, that were promised to Trump's base in particular, I think is telling. And I do care about this. There are people who think it's a distraction. I totally disagree. When we have a situation in which we're now learning that there were 4 co-conspirators to what Epstein did, and they were never prosecuted, we don't know who they are, that's a problem. Who are those people? Why is it that we're not gonna ever get any justice for all of those young girls who were abused?
And Anna, I would say that it goes even deeper than that.
It does.
Because if they're trying to brush it aside, it's possible that they actually mean it, and they think like Kevin O'Leary, like the only thing that matters in the world is the stock market. I don't care about anything else that happens, right? So there are people like that, are one issue people like that. But generally speaking, the folks who say let's move on are the ones that have an agenda in saying that, right? But for the rest of us, do we have any faith in our own government?
Exactly.
That's why this issue is so central. Not because of the crime, which is horrific and historic in its own right, but because it's so obvious that our government is lying to us and rubbing it in our face.
Exactly.
So we lose faith in all of our institutions if we can't get the bare minimum. Who ran this giant pedophile ring that is out in the open and public, which there are hundreds of victims that we know about? If you tell us it didn't exist, then we're living in 1984. George Orwell was right about everything. That the state told you that to ignore the dictates, that what you see with your eyes and ears, right? And that was their most important dictate. That you believe the nonsense that this despicable government tells you, and then has the media trot out and go, no, everybody bow their heads. There's nothing to see here. Those girls raped themselves. Shut up and stop asking questions. Well, we're not going to. It goes to the core of whether we live in a democracy.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if cooperating?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something
recommended.
It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
Well, as the Epstein drama continues to unfold, Americans are wondering whether President Donald Trump is serious about potentially pardoning a convicted pedophile groomer, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, Maxwell has been urging the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. And I don't think the Supreme Court should do that either. And now she's making an insane number of demands in exchange for her testimony before the House Oversight Committee on the Epstein files, which members of Trump's administration promised they would release and then reneged on that promise. So her demands include a grant of formal immunity. The interview cannot happen at the correctional facility where she's serving her sentence. She's also demanding to prepare adequately for any congressional deposition and to ensure accuracy and fairness. We would require the committee's questions in advance. Surprise questioning would be both inappropriate and unproductive. Who the hell are you, bitch? Okay, there's more. The interview would be scheduled only after the resolution of her Supreme Court petition and her forthcoming habeas corpus petition. Listen, the second, if I were Ghislaine Maxwell, the second I hear that people close to Trump are gonna come to the prison I'm being held at to talk to me about the Epstein files, I'd be worried about getting killed. Okay, but this woman's making all sorts of demands. She's feeling pretty good. Now, the question is, will Trump actually pardon her eventually? And will Congress cave to her demands? Congress has pushed back. They're kind of disgusted by this whole idea of pardoning her. Maxwell's attorneys have stated that if the demands are not met, she'll have no choice but to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. But now there's a twist to the story because according to Trump biographer Michael Wolff, the White House is seriously on edge because they think Maxwell might have dirt on Trump. Now, look, I don't know what kind of evidence Michael Wolff has to push this theory, but he is pushing this theory. And he even says that Maxwell's family leaked Epstein's birthday book to the Wall Street Journal. At least Trump thinks that that's what happened. In fact, why don't I not put words in Michael Wolff's mouth? Why don't you hear it for yourselves?
In the White House, they believe that the story in the Wall Street Journal about the birthday greeting that Donald Trump, the salacious birthday greeting that Donald Trump sent Jeffrey Epstein in 2003 on the occasion of his 50th birthday was a leak from the Maxwell family. And in the White House, they regarded this as, quote, a shot across the bow. So a threat, if that Ghislaine had damaging material on Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's lawyer, who, as it happens, is also the number 2 in the United States Justice Department, but principally is Donald Trump's own lawyer, went down, and I expect to try to figure out exactly what Ghislaine Maxwell has.
Now remember, Ghislaine Maxwell perjured herself through her trial. She's not to be trusted. I don't think we're going to get any new relevant information from her. Just release the files. Release the evidence that was used to convict her and the evidence that was used to go after Jeffrey Epstein. Why is this so difficult? But I'm curious what you think, Kate. Do you think that there might be some value in interviewing or hearing from Ghislaine Maxwell?
No, probably not. I think it's probably a waste of time. I mean, we have thousands of documents that aren't released yet. Presumably, she had some contribution to those documents in the first place. So why do we need to talk to her again? Like the idea that everyone in the country is so concerned about the Epstein case. And to resolve that, we're going to pardon his co-conspirator. Like, that's literally not what a single person is asking for. And I honestly don't think that he's going to. I think he would if it was just up to him. But I think someone will tackle him before he gets the chance to pardon her.
Well, pardoning her, in my opinion, is almost like an admission of guilt, right? It's almost like, let me do a favor for this horrible person who should not be freed into the general population. So she doesn't release anything about me that might make me look bad. And by the way, Trump's been doing press conferences where reporters don't even bring up the Epstein files. He just brings it up himself. It's like, are you stupid? Like, what are you doing? You want the story to go away, but you're bringing it up yourself. And it also doesn't help that he's made a number of creepily supportive comments about Ghislaine Maxwell in the past, like wishing her well. Mm-hmm. And he also said that he was not looking for anything bad for her. Really? A groomer? Like the person who recruited minors who were then raped by Epstein, and by the way, sometimes herself as well.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I mean, so many of the victims have said that she, in their minds, is worse than Epstein because they trusted her.
Yeah.
Because she made them feel comfortable, and they thought, nothing bad is going to happen to me with this creepy older man because this woman is here, and so I must be safe. And Virginia Giuffre said that Ghislaine Maxwell was the one to molest her first.
Mm-hmm. So
in no world should this woman be allowed out of prison. The fact that he's even entertaining it is heinous. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't believe it. And he keeps saying all of these just blatant lies about his relationship with Ghislaine and what happened with Virginia Giuffre, like things that can be easily fact checked. Like his whole story about how Epstein poached Virginia from him, and that's why they fell out, makes literally no sense. Like,
yeah,
he was on the Mar-A-Lago registry until 2007. And allegedly Virginia was poached in 2000. So what happened? Like, I thought you guys had a falling out. There's just so many things that don't add up. And he needs to stop talking about it because every time he speaks, it makes it clear that he's covering something up.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I kind of went, because I've been open about why I care about this story, right? It goes beyond, the co-conspirators. Well, actually, I really want to know the co-conspirators, but it goes even beyond that. For me, it's not just about Trump. I wasn't really focused on him potentially being one of the predators implicated in this. I was worried that, this is legitimately a blackmail operation carried out by a foreign government to control our foreign policy. And that's concerning, like very concerning. But now, because of Trump's public statements and his behavior, I'm like, oh, I think he might be implicated in the Epstein files. Like, he's acting very strange. So, and by the way, that's a generous way of describing it. Like, he's acting like someone who's guilty. So, look, if he does decide to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell and go down this path, it could really hurt him politically because most Americans are not about it. They are not in favor of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. According to a new poll from The Economist and YouGov, a majority of Americans do not want Trump to pardon Maxwell, and that includes 64% of all US citizens. What's up with the ones who want to pardon her? What's going on? Are you implicated? Okay. 75% of Democrats surveyed said they do not want her pardoned. Meaning what? Like, I can't believe that 5% of Democrats want her pardoned. What's wrong with these people? And then you have 59% of Republicans who do not want her pardoned. Amazing. Okay. So that's the situation. And so the poll comes at a time when we're seeing Trump's approval rating continuing to hit historic lows for other reasons as well. So for the last 2 weeks, 55% of Americans have disapproved and 41% of Americans have approved of his performance in office. And for the 2 weeks before that, 53% disapproved and 42% approved. And Trump stated, or I should say Trump started his second term with a 49% approval 43% disapproval. So you can see that the numbers are starting to go down. And then in addition to most Americans not wanting to see Ghislaine Maxwell freed, you also have the woman that you referenced earlier, Kate. You have Virginia Giuffre, who is begging, or her family, essentially begging Trump to not pardon Maxwell. And if you recall earlier this week, Trump admitted that she was stolen by Epstein from Mar-A-Lago. So let's take a look at the next video.
People were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Does that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. He stole her.
I think you sound like you're covering something up, honest. I don't know. I think so, maybe. 2009 was when Virginia Giuffre decided to sue Epstein and made her claims public in 2015. Other survivors have stated that her courage gave them the strength to share their stories as well. And tragically, she allegedly committed suicide earlier this year. So she was working at Mar-A-Lago at the time that she met Maxwell and Epstein. According to the New York Times, in the year 2000, court records show Maxwell struck up a conversation with her outside a locker room at Mar-A-Lago. Giuffre was only 17 years old at the time, and she was a spa attendant at the club, having gotten the job through her father, who worked there as a maintenance man. And according to Giuffre, Maxwell offered her a job on the spot as a masseuse for Epstein after seeing that she was reading a book about massage, telling her that she did not need to have any experience. She said that when she was brought to Epstein's Palm Beach home, she found him laying naked on a table. Maxwell, she claimed, instructed her on how to massage him. And in a statement to the BBC, Giuffre's family is essentially like begging Trump not to pardon Maxwell. Okay, Sky and Amanda Roberts and Danny and Lynette Wilson wrote, Ghislaine Maxwell is a monster who deserves to rot in prison for the rest of her life. She must remain in prison. Anything less would go down in history as being one of the highest travesties of justice. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison. So there is a possibility that if she doesn't get pardoned, there will be a day when she's released, which upsets me. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too tough on crime. But final thoughts on this whole debacle, Kate.
Yeah, I mean, the statement from the family is, pretty gut wrenching. These poor people have already lost their family member. Presumably to suicide just earlier this year, and now they're getting. I can't even imagine seeing every day the whole world talking about this case again. And being put through all of this again, and having to worry that the person who assaulted and groomed your child or your sister is going to be freed by the president of the United States because he might be implicated, and he wants to make sure he's doing everything he can not to have that come out. It's just a disgusting situation. I feel so awful for them.
I do too. And, I didn't get a chance to watch. There was apparently some stream that Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes did where they were skewering Trump. I don't know if you watched any of it, but I'm wondering if the topic of discussion was the Epstein files.
Yeah, I believe it was. I think they were. Yeah. And Trump was not happy that Alex Jones was criticizing him. And so people in his administration contacted Alex Jones, according to him, and asked him what he wanted in exchange for shutting up about it.
Wow. That's incredible. I didn't know that. Well, there you have it. Looks like Trump is definitely engaging in a cover up here. It's so pathetic, especially when he used the Epstein files as a political attack against Bill Clinton and other Democrats. I guess he didn't expect that this might turn around and actually bite him in the ass. Like he's been playing with fire forever and he never suffers consequences for it. And for the first time he is. And he's like shell shocked. He doesn't know how to handle it. It's amazing. All right, well, we got to pay close attention to Alex Jones's behavior to see if he, listens to Daddy Trump and shuts his mouth. I'm hoping he won't, but we'll see.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.